All right. Welcome to the late night lounge here with Tolly and I am Ben Kaysen. We're going to be covering the NBA draft. This is our special edition for the 2020 NBA draft, giving a little bit of reaction to what's going on tonight with some big moves and big trades. I'm going to pass it off here real quick to Tolly while I have a sip of apple juice.
Yeah, so this is the late night edition. This is our more relaxed version of the podcast. We have our serious sit down that we record with Phil, Brennan Hurd, and some special guests. But this is our late night lounge edition. So grab a drink, sit down, and relax with this one. So we have the draft today. Anyone wanting to keep the finger on the pulse with the NBA, we have Ben Kaysen, who's in control of our All Sports BPT Twitter. They call him Wodge Jr. I mean, he really has his finger on the pulse with trades and drafts. So let's go straight into it, Ben. First pick.
Anthony Edwards. It wasn't a surprise. I think he was trying to get away from Minnesota with some of his pre-draft interviews, but it just didn't work. Minnesota was set on him. He provides that wing player that they desperately needed since they got rid of Andrew Wiggins for the D'Angelo Russell trade. So I think he's a good pickup. Definitely needs to work on his 3-point shot, especially in today's NBA. But I mean, I think it's a home run hit for Minnesota.
Yeah, I think it's a great fit for the team. You have Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, and now Ricky Rubio. He's joining Minnesota through a trade. Do you want to touch on that now, or we can wait and move on?
Yeah,
but I think that's going to be a great little lineup. And Anthony Davis, not Anthony Davis, sorry, Anthony Edwards is going to fit in well with Ricky Rubio, I think.
Yeah, I think it's good reuniting Ricky Rubio with the team that drafted him. I think that gives them some much needed veteran and playmaking ability that is going to be able to, at times, they could go really small ball and have Ricky Rubio, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, whoever their power forward may be, and Karl Anthony Towns. And
Karl Anthony Towns in that lineup is going to be dangerous.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be pretty good. That trade was Minnesota acquiring Ricky Rubio, the 25th and 28th picks for the 17th overall pick. So Oklahoma City moves up and gets. Let me see who they got there with the 17th overall pick. Oh, I am not going to try and pronounce that. You guys can look that up yourselves. He is from Serbia, and there is a lot of letters, and nope, I'm not going to try it. But
I think I might go for it, Ben. It's the late night edition, so let's keep it loose.
Yeah.
Pokusevski.
That's about as
good
of a guess.
Yeah, we have a few Serbian friends, so they're going to punish us afterwards. But let us know in the comments.
Yeah, we'll have
how we did on that pronunciation.
We'll have to bring Alexa on and see how we did with our pronunciation of that.
Yeah. I'm sure he's crying.
Moving on to the second pick, which I think the Golden State Warriors desperately needed, was James Wiseman. Now, I think I think that Golden State would have tried to move up to number one if they had more time before the Klay Thompson injury. Now, the extent of that injury is unknown as of right now, but with him just coming off of that ACL injury that he had in the finals 2 years ago, you don't feel confident with him getting injured again. So now without him, you're going to have a pretty young team outside of Steph Curry, which doesn't bode well in my book.
Yeah, it's a shame that Klay Thompson's out. I think Hopefully, it's just a minor injury, and he'll be back soon. But it could, unfortunately, be one of those cascading effects where once you get that one big injury, that you see it with some players, unfortunately, they're at the top of their game, they get one big injury, and then lots of little injuries keep them out. I mean, let's hope that that's not the case with Klay Thompson, because I think James Wiseman, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry, what a dangerous three. You have Green in there too, whether he'll
And
still be there.
Andrew Wiggins is still there.
Yeah, and Andrew Wiggins. So they have strong wing play. We all know they can shoot. And I think with Klay Thompson and Steph, James Wiseman is going to be the perfect center because I think he's a good shooter already. He's proven that. But I think with Steph and Klay, he could learn quite a few things there. I mean, so it's going to be an interesting season for sure. And I can't wait to see him play. What do you think, Ben?
No, I think this is going to be really interesting because we haven't seen Golden State have that shot blocking presence in the middle of
Mm,
the court. There's a lot of times when they're doing their small ball where, back when they had their super team, Kevin Durant was their top shot blocker. And, Draymond Green's a good defender, but you don't really see him as that presence that you have to go up and over. I mean, he's only 6'6".
hmm
So, I mean, James Wiseman, 7 foot, 7'1", long, lanky. I mean, people have been saying he's like a next Embiid, and
hmm
and that's a scary thought, having someone like an Embiid level player
Who can
matched up
shoot
with
as well?
Steph and Clay.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean
I
that
think
that's a massive move.
I think it's going to take him just a little bit to really solidify himself. I think
Mhm,
he's going to have more of a career path adjacent with DeAndre Ayton. Like he's going to do
mhm.
well, but he's not going to blow people's socks off.
I think yeah, that's a common theme. I think the centers. I think it's probably the best position where you see these young college players really need time to fit into. And it would be great to hear your insight on this because my immediate reaction is, oh, what an amazing pick. He'll be good in 2 years. Because the center position, you put him up against Serge Ibaka, the Clint Capellas, I mean, big, strong, physical centers that are going to push him around. I think it's going to take a couple of years to adjust to that.
Yeah, I mean, think about the centers in the West. Golden State's obviously going to be a playoff team this year. I mean, that's
Oh, yeah.
last year was a fluke. They fell into a perfect position, getting a draft pick as high as 2. But James Wiseman, he's a stick. He kind of looks
hmm
how Dwight Howard looked like coming into the league, and he's going to have to go against Yusuf Nurkic, big boy, seven
Big
foot.
boy.
He's gonna put his butt back into him, and he's just gonna push him around.
hmm
You're gonna have he's gonna have to guard Anthony Davis or a JaVale McGee or a Dwight Howard. I mean, the list goes on and on. And, if
Yeah,
San
physical
Antonio
presences.
if San Antonio keeps LaMarcus Aldridge, that's another one. Um, so I think that you've seen the progression where centers aren't as important as they used to be in the late 90s and the early 2000s, but it's going to be something that is still a very important piece. But now, because of the almost specified skills that they need to, they got to be a spot up shooter now if you want to stay on the court in the fourth
hmm
quarter. And you got a shot block. You got to be able to move the ball around, especially in this offense with Golden State. He's going to have to learn so much in such a little amount of time because we have such a little bit of off season right now.
Yeah, yeah, and you mentioned the 80s and 90s. I think you go back to 80s and 90s. James Wiseman, number one pick every year through the 80s and 90s. I mean, he's a massive, impactful center. As you said, yeah, it's going to take a few years. He's going to come up against Anthony Davis and some really big boys in the West. Uh, and you saw it with the Rockets. You can live on a team that doesn't have a massive center, play the
Mhm.
small ball, get your threes in. But this would be an interesting dynamic because there's not many centers, I think, that can move as well as James Wiseman. I know we haven't seen him in the NBA. We don't know how he's going to play with Steph and Clay and those Warriors team, but I think Steve Kerr is the perfect coach for the new generation centers.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're gonna keep moving along here, though. Um, and this next draft pick, he's probably gonna be the most talked about player in the entire draft, even though he's coming in at number 3, and that's LaMelo Ball.
Oh yeah. You know what? I'm going to call this now. I think this is a franchise changing move from the Hornets. I think this is going to go incredibly well for the Hornets and should solidify the Ball family into the NBA.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna go off point just a little bit here. This move almost dries up the Russell Westbrook market
Oh yeah.
because I mean the Hornets had said before they will go after Russell Westbrook if LaMelo Ball isn't available to them.
Hmm.
And here he is. Now you're looking, are the Knicks going to try and trade for him? That's I mean, that's the only team that's really shown true interest in
Hmm.
him. But, I think it's either going to be the Knicks, the Wizards doing that swap with John Wall, or it's going to be
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook sitting another year in Houston.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that Russell Westbrook trade was thrown into the bin as soon as Lonzo Ball's ticket came up.
LaMelo.
And I think that's LaMelo, sorry. And I'm happy for Charlotte actually. I think that is the better move, and I really hope they stay away from Westbrook like the plague, because now they have Ball over there. He he's a new breed of point guard. I mean, he's what is he, 6'7"?
Yeah,
That's what
six
he's
seven.
noted down as 6'7". Incredible passer. His dribbling skills are phenomenal. Whether he can shoot in the NBA, we all thought Lonzo would be able to shoot, but LaMelo looks like he's in a better position. I think his form is odd, but not as slow release. So I think it could
Yeah.
work in the NBA. That'll be obviously to be seen.
Mhm.
However, if they did this properly, I think the franchise can, on the dime, swap and become a challenging team over there, because you get some young players around LaMelo. If he can distribute the ball the way he's doing, that's going to change that franchise.
Yeah, and another thing that's been tied to the Hornets is they're in talks with Harrell from the Clippers about signing him. So you add that all into the mix with the young players they have. You're talking LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Devonte Graham, Malik Monk, Miles Bridges, and then adding in Harrell to that. That's a team for the future.
Yeah, solid young core.
Absolutely.
Whether
Um,
whether we see LeVar Ball run onto the court and try and block someone is to be seen. Interesting. Hopefully he doesn't move to Charlotte.
let's hope he stays the hell away from everything right now.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep moving along. We're not gonna have quite as much to say. I think the majority of the drama was in those top 3 picks there.
Hmm.
But a bit of a surprise. Patrick Williams from Florida State gets drafted 4th overall, and but honestly, in my reaction to that, I was not prepared at all.
No.
That Denny Avila was still on the board at that point. I
Hmm.
thought, uh, boom, there you go. The Bulls picked up a really good foreign player that's going to provide them that solid play at the 3. Now Patrick Williams, he's still a good player, but he's more defensive minded, and I don't know if his potential is up there as close to Avila's.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was a surprise for me. So on the ESPN, they overall ranked him 9. So for him to go 4th to Chicago, strange move. Whether that's based on behind the scenes trade negotiations that we haven't yet heard,
Yeah.
be interesting to find out. But I, I'm not sure. It'd be interesting to see once again how he does in Chicago. I don't think he'll make a massive impact, but you know what? Sometimes these players in the draft, the players that seem to fly under the radar, seem sometimes blow up and become superstars overnight. It seems so
Yeah.
because he has no. I mean, personally, I don't think he has much pressure on him.
No.
Not incredible media coverage like you saw with the top three.
Yeah.
So let's see if he can make something happen in Chicago because you know they need something going on in that city.
Yeah. I'm kind of wondering if we're going to see some kind of trade with the Bulls and 76ers that would land Zach LaVine with the 76ers. There has been some
Hmm.
talks about that, and that's the big trade that new GM Daryl Morey has been talking about. But definitely a surprise pick, and I think I was surprised the most that Obi Toppin dropped in the draft and Denny Avila.
Yeah, I
But
thought Toppin would go. I honestly thought he could potentially go top number four, number five.
yeah, now it's not a great fit for him because I think Toppin is truly a power forward.
Yeah, I
He's
agree.
one of those in between players, but he's going to be best served on a team that doesn't have that many power forwards in the New York Knicks.
No, no. Yeah, I mean, any power forward, any chance they could have a power forward in their team, they're going to take it, aren't they? I mean, they would play with five power forwards if it was even possible in today's NBA.
Yeah, yeah, sometimes you have to question what's going on over in that Knicks front office there, and
Oh yeah, I think
they're
they've had a few whiskey lounges themselves, a bit too many. Power forward central.
yeah, that's an interesting one. I think it was summed up perfectly whenever Mike Woodson was fired from that job, and he said, "What the hell am I supposed to do with 10 power forwards on my roster?"
Yeah, honestly. And now 11.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, they're I think they're trying to move off of Julius Randle, and I think they're trying to get rid of Taj Gibson as well, which would really open things up to now you're talking about quite the core in New York with this move. If they get rid
Yeah.
of some of these players, you're looking at the point guard position still a little shaky,
Yes, definitely.
but now you have RJ Barrett, he's going to be a bona fide star here.
Oh, yeah.
You have Kevin Knox, he's shaky. I think he can turn into a good role player, though. I just think he needs time. Obi
Mm.
Toppin, I think I think he's just gonna be a scorer. I think he's gonna come into the league. I think first year he's gonna average 16, 17 points a game. And then
Hmm.
you have Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that really works out. I mean, I think every year we hope the Knicks can pull something together, and
You
they
know?
always find a way to blow themselves to pieces.
Yeah, yeah. My dad's he's a diehard Knicks fan,
Mm.
and he's been in despair since Carmelo left.
Yeah,
And I don't really see them getting much better anytime soon. I still think it's going to be 3-4 years before you see the Knicks in the playoffs.
yeah, and I think the front office in the Knicks need to accept that fact and stop trying to push forward these forced trades for people like Russell Westbrook. I think they need to have a more long-term vision. We spoke
Hmm.
on the podcast previously on their front office just not doing a great job rebuilding. I think they need to let the Nets. I think that might be some pressure on them. Honestly, the Nets they have some superstars over there. Whether they're scared of losing their position in New York. I mean, I think that's a stupid way to look at it. The Knicks are one of the best franchises in the NBA, if not the world. They're highly recognized. So what's 5 years go like 4 or 5 years? You take that time, you really work on your young core, and you come back stronger than ever. I think if you try and keep jamming these forced puzzle pieces, it's not going to work. I mean, everyone's seen
Yeah.
it on Thanksgiving when someone has that wrong piece trying to jam it into the wrong place. It's
Yeah.
not happening.
Yeah. So I'm gonna kind of go and run through the rest of this draft, and then we're gonna come back and talk about some of these picks that kind of stood out to us. So at number 5, we have Isaac Okoro from Auburn. He got drafted to the Cleveland Cavaliers. At number 6, we had Oneka Okongwu.
Mhm.
Probably butchered that name. He's from USC. He's a center. Kind of puzzling why
Yeah,
they would
just to
draft
touch
him.
on that actually, just briefly, what do you think is going to happen with Capella?
They're gonna keep him. They're gonna keep him.
Yeah,
I think he has 1 year
strange
left.
move.
I think 1 year left with the Hawks before they move on from him.
Yeah,
Oh, you know what could happen? Capella could be a part of a trade to the Boston Celtics for Gordon Hayward.
and I think that would be a very smart move.
I think you might see that. Okay, that there's. I'm telling you now. It's November 18th
Yep.
here. Gordon Hayward for Clint Capella. Gordon.
Can you imagine that team? Just to drag this on a little bit further. Trey Young, Cam Reddish, Gordon Hayward, and
John
there's
Collins.
Onyeka and John Collins. I mean, hopefully it's Onyeka that does a job. I mean, he's 6'9", 245 pounds. I mean, he seems more stable. Seems a bit stronger.
He's a defensive presence.
Oh yeah, big 5 man.
Yeah. So continuing to move on here, we have Killian Hayes from France being drafted by the Pistons. We had Obi Toppin drafted by the Knicks. Denny Avila came off the board at 9 to the Washington Wizards. Jalen Smith gets drafted out of Maryland to the Phoenix Suns, which I think is a fantastic move by them to shore up their power forward position.
I agree.
We had Devin Vassell, shooting guard from Florida State, going to the San Antonio Spurs. Don't know much about him, but the Spurs seem to always find some diamonds in the rough.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who dropped significantly in the draft was Tyrese Halliburton from Iowa State, that point guard going to the Sacramento Kings. And the next pick is one we'll come back and touch on, but you and I had a conversation off camera about what the Pelicans need to do with their point guard situation.
Yeah.
And this is something where I like Kira Lewis. He's a speedster. He can score, but I don't think he has the baggage that Ball has. So you might see Lonzo on the move.
Yeah. I mean, LaMelo's taking up all the headlines at the moment, but I think we're going to see some movement from Lonzo. I think hold that ticket.
Continuing to move on. Number 14th overall pick was Aaron Nesmith from Vanderbilt, small forward. Kind of puzzling why the Celtics would draft another small forward, but they seem to have a plethora of picks to really go on.
Yeah.
Number 15 overall, which I really like this pick, Cole Anthony from North Carolina going to the Orlando Magic. I think that's going to be able to push Markelle Fultz more to a shooting guard role, which I think is really good for him.
I think that suits him better.
Yeah. Portland picks up a great backup center in Isaiah Stewart from Washington. He's someone I think before this season was in the conversation for being more of a top 5 pick, but not having a great year at Washington. He kind of dropped in the draft, but I think it's going to be great for Portland to have a good backup for Yusuf Nurkic that isn't like a $28 million Hassan Whiteside.
Oh, yeah.
Continuing on here, we've got that Serbian kid who I'm still not going to try and pronounce.
I'm not going to pronounce that again.
Nope. You can rewind this video and see Tolly talk about that at the beginning. Uh,
Hmm.
the uh, the Dallas Mavericks address a need at some more scoring with drafting Josh Green from Arizona. I think that's a great pick,
Yep.
especially with the talks of them possibly moving off of Tim Hardaway Jr.
Hmm.
Sadiq Bey from Villanova, power forward, is going to the Brooklyn Nets at number 19. I think that's a great pickup because they need someone there too.
Yeah.
Miami, my Miami Heat,
No
making
bias. No
no not
bias.
yeah, no bias at all. They make I think another great steal at number 20, picking Precious Achula from Memphis, power forward. I think that defensive minded power forward is going to form one of the best defensive front courts in the NBA in a couple of years with Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, I can't believe that he went so late.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
he was
surprised no one grabbed him earlier.
he was another one where, I think people thought he was going to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
another Another player that dropped in the draft was Tyrese Maxey from Kentucky, a shooting guard going to the 76ers. That's another great move by them. I think Daryl Morey, you're starting to see his influence on this team now. Uh, Instead of just drafting the biggest team they can possibly put together, they're getting someone who's quick, he's shifty, and he's able to score at all three levels.
Hmm.
Um, Number 22, we had the Nuggets drafting Zeke Najahi from Arizona. He's a power forward. I'm gonna guess he's gonna be in their G League team for a little
Mm.
bit. Um, the Knicks had number 23, and they picked a shooting guard, Leandro Bolmaro from Argentina. But I did think I saw something from Woj um, about him moving. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Um,
Yeah, he really has his finger on the pulse, doesn't he? I mean, true
yeah,
legend of the NBA. He's all over it all the time.
Balmero is going to Minnesota in the trade. So
They have another
um,
shooting guard.
another shooting guard. I think that's good. I think they need to add some depth there.
Yeah.
Um, Another player who really dropped in this draft, and one
RJ
that
Hampton.
RJ Hampton. I think he's going to take a couple years. He's going to take a couple years, but he is long. He is skilled, and
Hmm.
if he can develop his 3-point shot, um, you know, I think even if Giannis leaves, I think you got a really good player there.
Yeah, me too. And I thought the Pelicans were going to pick him up in that position,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be honest with you.
I think Kira Lewis is a little bit more NBA ready than Hampton, but I think Hampton's potential is higher than Kira Lewis Jr.'s.
Yeah, I think that'd be a space to watch there.
Yeah. Number 25 was Emmanuel Quickly to the Oklahoma City Thunder from Kentucky. He's a point guard. Um, I don't know much about the kid,
Nope.
um, and I don't really know how he fits in there. Uh, they
He
got Shea
snuck up the
Gillis.
draft.
Yeah. Um, the Boston Celtics have another pick at 26 with Peyton Pitchard, point guard from Oregon. Don't know much about him either. And I'm just gonna run through here. We've got 27 Paducah Azubuike from Kansas. He's a center. That's kind of important because they just announced um, the Utah Jazz are giving up their rights on backup center Tony Bradley. So getting rid of his $3.5 million contract to pick up a cheaper center so that they can go after Jordan Clarkson in off season.
Yeah.
The Lakers pick, which will be going to OKC as part of that Dennis Schroeder trade, is Jaden McDaniels. He's a power forward. I think he's an underrated pick right there. He was one that I think people were expecting him to do a lot better in college. I think you see him in 2 or 3 years. I think he's going to be a solid player on the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
We had Malachi Flynn going to the Toronto Raptors. He's a point guard. Once again, don't know much. And the Celtics had the last pick in the first round with Desmond Bane from TCU.
He's another one I don't know much about.
Nope. But Tolly, let's get some of your reactions here to, what were some of these draft picks that may have slipped down into the later picks that you really like?
Well, I think there's a few picks that, even some that haven't dropped down, but sometimes players get ranked a lot lower and get picked a lot higher than expected. I think Killian Hayes is one of those. I think the Pistons, I think he's a great choice, honestly.
Yeah.
I think they need a nice, fresh bit of life in that city, and I think Killian Hayes is going to bring that to the city.
Let's hope he just is able to survive living in Detroit.
Yeah.
I think France is a lot different than Detroit.
Yeah, I think as long as he listens to Eminem, I think that's the rule of life, isn't it? As long as you listen to Eminem, you'll be fine.
Well, I wouldn't listen to him too much. He might be getting on a little too many drugs at that
point. Yeah, I think another one that we touched on that went later than expected was Denny Avdia. Another great pick. Are you surprised with that one?
I'm surprised he dropped that low. I think, from whenever I was looking through here, I thought the Bulls, the Cavs, and the Hawks all had good reason to pick a small forward, and they're talking about Avdia being as good of a prospect as Doncic.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here looking at this going, how do you pass on someone that is being compared like that? Now, we don't know what's going into the kind of the interviews that they have to have with them, and maybe they saw something they didn't like. And the Wizards, who haven't been in a great position, even if they don't trade any of their key players this year, I think you see their team starting to come together a little bit now. With him dropping down to 9, you're looking at John Wall, Bradley Beal, Denny Avdia. I don't know who their power forward's going to be unless they keep Davis Bertans. And then they have the center Bryant, who has been developing into a very good player. I think the Wizards could push for a playoff spot this upcoming season.
You know what? I think, I mean, if I'm in the front office of the Wizards and you get Avdia there, and I don't think they would have expected that.
Mm-hmm.
I think now you start pulling the plug on the Russell Westbrook or any other. You keep Bill and John Wall there.
Yeah. Now
that's a contending team.
Now there is like one thing that I would, if Miami tried to trade for Bradley Beal and they were able to put in Precious Achiuwa and Tyler Hero, I think you gotta
Would
go
you take
with
that?
it.
Would you take that?
So
letting Tyler Hero go?
It has to depend on a couple things. Bradley Beal's a better player, and I think Bradley Beal is going to always be a better player than Tyler Hero.
Mm-hmm.
I just think his ceiling's higher than Tyler Hero's. But that's the only kind of player I would give Tyler Hero up for, is a bona fide superstar that can score from 3 levels. You put him alongside Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and maybe a Paul Millsap. You're looking at a really good team that, if the Bucks aren't able to sign Giannis, they're able to bring him in at power forward. Boy, oh boy, that's a team.
Yeah, you're not stopping that team.
No,
Yeah, that's going to smash through the East like a train. Uh,
it's gonna look like the Miami Heat of old.
yeah, talking about a team coming up from the old, Jalen Smith to the Suns.
I really like it.
Yeah, me too. And I'd love to get your thoughts on that. I think that is a great pick from the Suns. I think they saw that space and they took it accordingly. A great job from the franchise there. What do you think about that?
You know, he is big.
Hmm.
He is 6'10", and he's not bulky like the power forwards of old. He's 225. So I think he's fitting that modern NBA four position, but
Hmm.
with height that he could actually guard an Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're looking at the Suns really starting to turn things around. You know, I think we've seen it in the past, some poor managing of their top picks, and that was something that came back and haunted them so many times. But now we got Chris Paul, we got Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges at the three, and you now have Jalen Smith at the four with DeAndre Ayton at the five. Boy, I mean, like these teams are starting to make some great picks here.
It's a good off season for the Suns.
I think the Suns won the offseason.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so far, I mean, obviously, everything's not said and done yet, but you know what?
Mm-hmm.
At this stage, November 18th, I agree with you. On draft night, they've
And
really turned that team around.
one of the biggest things here that I'm seeing is Jalen Smith's able to spread the floor as well.
Hmm.
37% shooter in college at Maryland from 3-point land. I think, you know, with a little bit of practice, you're not going to see him year one splashing 37%.
No.
But I think if you see him going into the from the low to mid 30s, I think you kind of say that's a win for them because he's your typical like 3 and D power forward. He's going to be in there shot blocking with DeAndre Ayton and probably providing a little bit more defense than Ayton provides. And really going forward, he'll be. I think he'll become a staple to that team.
Yeah, me too. And I think his size, he's going to cause a lot of mismatches, I think. And
Yeah.
I think that's going to get him to the line. And he's 75% free throw in college. Uh, Whether he can improve that score in immediate effect, not sure. But I think at 6'10", that presence, you get him in the paint with the agent. I think he's going to draw some contact, draw some fouls, and I
Yeah.
think that's going to do them some favors because you don't want your Devin Booker and Chris Paul taking all of that hit, all of those hits in the clutch fourth quarter. I think him
No.
being in there, being able to spread the floor, as you said, gives some extra size, some better defense. I think it's going to be a great impact on the Suns. I think uh, he might be one of the most underrated picks so far, and I think he's going to do really well.
Yeah. One of the picks that I really liked, which I thought he was going to go a lot higher because a lot of teams were high on him, was Tyrese Halliburton.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's 6'5", great, great height for a guard.
Hmm.
Um, 43% career 3-point shooter.
Incredible.
I mean, I think the Sacramento Kings, and I saw this on Adrian Wojnarowski's page, was they had no idea that he would drop to them.
Yeah, no.
They were expecting him to go top 10, even top 5, and I think a lot of people were expecting him to go where Killian Hayes went to the Detroit Pistons,
Hmm.
but I think he could be inserted into the lineup almost immediately with the possibility of Buddy Hield wanting out.
Yeah, I think and if you're the Kings, you take that.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I think he's going to make an immediate impact.
yeah. I do too. Another point guard. There's actually, I think the point guards really
Yeah,
stick.
running the show.
really stick out in this draft, and we definitely went to some teams that needed some more spark from the point guard. The first one I'm going to talk about is Kira Lewis Jr. from Alabama, going to the Pelicans.
Did not see that coming.
Mm-mm.
I didn't see it coming, but excellent draft, I think. I think he dynamic. I think he's going to bring something to the team that they don't really have. As you said previously, what does that say about Lonzo Ball? Are we going to see him move on? I thought after Drew Holiday moved away that franchise said, right, we're sticking with Ball. But it seems with this pick that they may have other plans.
You
Whether
know,
he just fits the system or
I think you're going to see them give Lonzo Ball one more chance. They gave him a pretty good shot going into last season, and honestly, before the bubble and the coronavirus all hit, he was putting up some really good numbers, like numbers that you would say, "All right, I'm willing to re-sign you." But now with Kira Lewis Jr. in the fold, I think you have to say the clock is ticking on Lonzo Ball to start producing for them, where they're going to move off.
yeah, I mean we all know Lonzo Ball is an assist machine. Great pass the ball. It's his scoring ability that holds him back massively.
Yeah,
I mean, if he could just average maybe 5 extra points a game, I don't have the exact statistic at the moment, but he very rarely touched the double digits bracket, which is just not acceptable. Not in that team. The way that they can spread the floor with the players they have. I mean, I think most point guards, if you're going to be honest, could get close to double digit assists when you have Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram on the floor with the way they're able to score. So yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I think this preseason little training camp, those two are going to be fighting for a position.
yeah. So Lonzo Ball's season last year, he averaged 12 points,
Mm,
um, and he averaged 7 assists and 6 rebounds. So we always knew that he was going to be kind of that triple double kind of player, being a taller point guard. I think he really needs to pack on some pounds though, and become a much more physical guard. And
yeah,
if he's just able to be a more consistent 3 point shooter, I think they can do without him scoring. If he continues to put up 12 points a game, I think they're fine with it. It's just,
yeah.
is he going to be able to knock down shots? And
Hmm.
that's the you never know. You never know what kind of Lonzo Ball you're going to get.
Yeah, no, and that's the unfortunate point. Uh, because I think everyone thought he would be okay shooting, and I think everyone expected him to be more closer to 18, 17 points a game rather than 12. And as strange as that sounds, an extra 5 points a game can be a massive difference. It can move you up in the standings a few places.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. 100%.
Yeah. Moving on to the next point guard, and one who was projected to be another top pick was Cole Anthony,
Mm,
going to the Magic. And we have not seen the Magic draft point guards well.
no.
Um, they drafted Elfrid Payton, who turned out to be a bust. He's at best a good role player,
Hmm.
and that might be a little generous from me. But Cole Anthony, I think he's a much more explosive scorer than than anyone they've had, and even they've had Markel Fultz. I think he's too big to be a point guard. I think he can easily slide down to the two and play right alongside Cole Anthony, and even bring the ball up at times to get Cole Anthony off ball to shoot
Hmm.
some more threes, because I think he's a better 3 point shooter than Fultz.
Yeah, I'm maybe not as excited for that pick as you are, Ben. I'm still slightly skeptical on Cole Anthony. just purely for the sake is I'm not sure how impactful he'll be in that team. I think he's going to struggle. I mean, the pieces around him, they're getting better, of course, but I think unless the Magic can work a bit of magic, ironic, in this off season, I think he might struggle there. He's not the most physical. Uh, I don't know. We have to see on him, but he might be another one. You might shock me and start dropping triple doubles like it's nothing.
Yeah, his dad played in the NBA for
But yeah, I'm
some
not sure.
years.
I'm just a bit worried about him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, his dad played in the NBA, so I think he has some good stock. So, only time
Mm.
will tell with that pick. Um, and then I
Yeah, yeah.
think I think my last one that I really want to talk about is Tyrese Maxey to the
Yeah.
76ers. And with him, he's a kind of smaller shooting guard. He's only six
Hmm.
foot three. But I think you put him alongside of Ben Simmons, I think that's the perfect kind of matchup. Um, he's going to be uh, he's a strong player. He's got a 6'8" wingspan. So
Yeah.
even though he's 6'3", I think he's still going to be effective on defense. And he is a great 3-point shooter. Great
Yeah,
three
yeah.
point shooter.
Yeah, I think this is refreshing if you're a 76ers fan. It seems to once again show that change in the front office. Seems like they're changing strategy. They're not going for these massive players anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrese Maxey, we've seen him through his college career. He's quick. He is off the dribble. I mean, he's a very quick player. And as you said, he can shoot three. I think he's a great choice for an underrated player going up for the Sixers. I think he was projected to go a bit higher, but honestly, I think he fell in a great team with the Sixers there.
Yeah, I think some of these guys that fell in the draft, uh, they're going to have much more success early on because they're on these more developed teams,
Hmm.
and you're going to see them have more of a significant role. I think Tyrese Maxey can finally do what Landry Shamet was doing in
Yeah.
Philadelphia before they sent him out,
Hmm.
and he's he's on the move, Landry Shamet. Um, Let me see here. I know that I saw that the Clippers are sending Landry Shamet to the Nets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for
Well,
the number 19 pick.
okay.
So that's going to be interesting with uh, with the Nets now because they just picked up that Bruce Brown, who's a shooting guard, and they picked up Landry Shamet, who's a shooting guard.
Yeah. Uh, I think there's one person I would like to talk about. I would love to know your thoughts on this.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Stewart to the Trailblazers.
Yeah, I
He.
think that's one that's gonna kind of get lost in the draft. It's not
Hmm.
something that it's going to blow people's minds, but I think it's a solid draft pick. I think he's one where the time comes that he could replace Yusuf Nurkic if they decide to move off of him.
Yeah, yeah, it was interesting because I personally thought he was going to go a lot later, and I didn't expect him to get picked up by the Trailblazers. But maybe that's the way they're trying to move. Maybe they're trying to move Nurkic off the cap space, trying to free up some space there. Whether that's something that's going to come into fruition, we'll have to wait and see in the next couple of years. But I think he can be an impactful player there.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're going to see him. I don't know how things are going to exactly work with. They're going to have a trio of bigs that are going to be
Mm,
playing this year. They're going to have Isaiah Stewart. They're going to have Nurkic, but they're also going to have Zach Collins, who he was playing more of a four role for them. But I'm starting to think that they should move off of Zach Collins. I'm not feeling too good on him.
yeah, I think he's had some underwhelming performances to say the least.
Yeah, but Stewart, he's a big boy. I'm
Oh
looking
yeah.
I'm looking at his draft analysis. 6'9", 250 with a 7'4" wingspan. The dude's gonna be able to body up any big in the West.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that's my when I saw that too, and I watched a few highlights on him, and he can shift people. Obviously, once again, you can shift people in college. Can you do it in the big time? It's
Yeah,
another question. But I mean, with his size and physicality, the Trailblazers organization, if they keep him in the gym, keep him fit, keep him healthy, he's gonna be a very strong person in the paint.
yeah. Um, I think that's all for me on the draft. I do want to touch on a little bit of news coming out of Milwaukee, which
Mm.
is Bogdan Bogdanovic does not want to come to Milwaukee.
Yeah, that surprised me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Ben. Honestly, I did not see that coming.
Uh, I didn't either. I thought, if you're Bogdanovic, you're pretty stoked
Oh yeah.
because you go from the Sacramento Kings, who is on the verge of making the playoffs for the past couple of years, to a contender. And unless he's like looking at making some more money somewhere else, I don't understand that, but definitely throws a wrench in the Milwaukee trade and their team dynamic now. Uh, keeping now they're keeping Dante DiVincenzo instead of being able to send him to Sacramento.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I really thought he was going to take that uh, and run with it. Whether he's thinking more long term, as you said, maybe thinking about his personal contract, or maybe he is in the mindset as many fans and potentially you and I that Giannis is gone after this year unless they win the championship. I think
Yeah,
if they don't win their conference, bare minimum, he's gone.
yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe
So
he's on that train.
maybe he is. I mean, maybe he's seeing the writing on the wall in Milwaukee that he doesn't think that that's a NBA championship level team, and if he stays there, he's going to be stuck on the bottom end of the Eastern Conference without Giannis on that team.
Hmm.
Um, so Woj tweeted out about Minnesota totally revamping their team through the draft. Um,
Hmm.
they actually traded for that Jaden McDaniels, who was at the number 28 pick.
Okay. Yeah.
So now Anthony Edwards, Leandro Bolmare, and Jaden McDaniels in the first round, along with Ricky Rubio. You're looking at this team starting to come together.
Yeah.
I mean, you have your backup point guard, you got your shooting guard in Anthony Edwards, plus you still have Beasley, who was a part of the trade last year with the Nuggets. Uh, you have Jaden McDaniels, who could step in at the power forward spot, and Carl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, that's an exciting team, one to watch for next year. How those pieces will fit together. Once again, it's going to be a process, I think. 2 years down the line, I think once they've solidified their lineup, a few of their players have matured a bit. They find their roles. I think that franchise has had a complete switch around.
Yeah, now there will be something to be said about what Jimmy Butler said about them whenever he had his time in Minnesota, with them being soft and them not
Mm.
wanting to win. Um, that's something that kind of worries me with that team. And I don't see Carl Anthony Towns or D'Lo really being leaders of this team. So, you know, maybe they've grown into these roles a little bit more, but I don't think. Ooh, that's not a good news. Clay
Uh,
Thompson is looking at possible Achilles injury, which
that's that's not what you want to hear.
no, no, no. That is some rough news there that I just saw on Twitter.
That's sad news. And
Yeah,
Whether that's going to change the Warriors' dynamic, be interesting. But I think James Wiseman coming in is going to be a massive help. I think that top three pick that they had going at number two, I think has kind of dampened, uh, has kind of softened that blow. Obviously, Klay Thompson, one of the most impactful shooters in the league, and you hate to see it.
Yeah, let's just hope it's some kind of like strain or something like that that isn't career or season ending.
Yeah,
That would be a real shame to see. I was one who was quite vocal about not liking the Warriors after they won their first title, but not something that I ever want to see anybody get injured about.
yeah, no, and for everyone who's superstitious, I'm going to touch wood for Klay Thompson. But once again, I'm going to touch wood. Let's say he's out for the season. Where do you think the Warriors are going to end up? It's going to be a tough year for them, don't you think? Without Clay's scoring ability.
That's it's a tough sell to think that they're a playoff team without Clay. The West is really tough, and you got some young teams that are going to be coming up through the fold. I mean, you got New Orleans, you got Dallas, you have the Suns. Where's the room for the Warriors? I don't have a lot of confidence in Andrew Wiggins or Draymond Green being able to pick up the slack that Klay Thompson had left behind.
No, no, not at all. That's a massive blow for them, and unfortunately, when you lose someone of that high caliber, trying to replace them or at least fill in someone is difficult. You saw it with the Nets when KD and Kyrie were injured. You just can't fill the spaces of those top players, the people who are solidified Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
I think that's a tough, and I think it'd be tough for their organization to structure something near term that's going to at least get them in like playoff contention.
Yeah. One move that they just made is they drafted Nico Mannion, the point guard out of Arizona,
Hmm.
which I think provides some good ball handling behind Steph Curry, but still doesn't give you that knockdown shooter that they're really looking for. So I think if I was the Warriors, I'm trying to make a trade with Draymond Green to pick up some kind of shooter.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. Yeah, the only issue is obviously teams know that seeing that Clay Thompson with that bad news, they're going to be if it is severe, they're going to be in desperation mode,
Yeah,
and
and
you're going to take the house, aren't you?
well, I think you have to kind of view it as Steph and Clay are getting up there in age, and Draymond, obviously we've seen his decline over the past year or so. Uh, you gotta throw something at them. I think Buddy Hield comes to mind as a good running mate for Steph Curry if you lose uh, Clay Thompson for the whole year, and I think that's one where everyone knows Buddy Hield wants to get out of that situation, and that's gonna be interesting here. I don't like to see that. I wanted to see another great team coming out of the West, challenging the likes of the Clippers and the Lakers.
Yeah, no, I agree, 100%. And yeah, once again, that's some sad news.
Yeah, I think we're looking at some going to be interesting time going into free agency, which opens up on Friday. Um, and now that Bogdan Bogdanovic is entering the restricted free agency part of it, it'll be interesting to see if first he gets someone to sign him for more than he was going to get in Milwaukee, and then would the Kings match that offer, get him, and then maybe do that trade later after they are able to sign him?
Yeah, I think if you're the Kings, that's the way you do it. I think
Yeah, I
you
mean,
get more bang for your buck in that trade, I think.
yeah, I mean, you get a nice young guard in Dante DiVincenzo, um, and you continue to put young pieces around um, De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, and it could be going to be interesting to see that team, see how De'Aaron Fox is going to be playing this season.
Yeah,
I've
uh,
seen some clips of him, and he looks like he's putting in the work.
this was one that happened about a half hour ago. Dallas acquired Josh Richardson for the number 36 overall pick and Seth Curry from the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, I mean that's a surprising one because that Seth he fit well. I thought he had a good season last year. I think he was quite impactful.
Yeah, but I think that they're looking for some good wing players. Um, when you look at it, they have Luka Doncic, who's kind of their de facto point guard.
Oh yeah,
And then you have Jalen Brunson, who's a nice backup point guard, provides some good defense and leadership off the bench. But you're looking at uh, their wing players. Your best wing player is Tim Hardaway Jr. And I don't like that. I think that's one where they can definitely throw a first round pick in Tim Hardaway at Buddy Hield or Zach LaVine and be able to pull it off and get a nice running mate for Luka.
yeah, and it'd be interesting to see this season how Porzingis starts off the year.
Well,
Whether
he's
he's going to
gonna
have NBA season form or
well he's gonna be missing the first bit of the season.
first part, yeah.
He had that meniscus tear that he had to get
Hmm.
addressed in October, which I didn't understand why that took him so long to get that repaired, but it did, and they just have to live with that. But you start to think uh, Dwight Powell is still coming off of an Achilles tear from last season, and he was their starting center alongside Kristaps. Both of them are going to be missing the beginning of the season. Do they try and sign a veteran big man to kind of hold down the fort until both of them are going to be able to get back?
Yeah, and I think of
LaMarcus Aldridge, yeah.
LaMarcus Aldridge, sorry, I think he could do a job there.
Yeah, I think if they're able to get him for the right price,
Hmm.
um, I don't think that Dallas has too many assets that they would be able to really give up for him. But that's one where I would say that's not a bad choice. Maybe an Aaron Baines, signing him in free agency could do something like that, or even a Daniel Tice.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be pessimistic, but I enjoy risk management. And if I'm the Dallas Mavericks, you're starting to think Kristaps Porzingis injury after injury after injury. He's on a decent sized contract. When do you pull the plug? I mean, I hate to be that pessimistic person, but for the sake of conversation, you think that they're already thinking about it in that front office? Because I mean, Doncic, I mean, he can do it alone, but
No, he can't.
he can't win a championship by himself.
Uh-uh. I think that part of Kristaps has been lingering since he tore his ACL in New York.
Hmm.
So you have to kind of think that they they they've always had that thought in the back of their heads that maybe Kristaps doesn't work out and maybe the injuries just continue to pile up for him. But I think if they're able to get a consistent center and keep Kristaps from banging around with those big boys in the block, I think you're going to see his career lengthen about 5 years.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because he's still a young player to be talking about career management.
Yeah.
But, but unfortunately, that is a realistic issue with Kristaps Porzingis. He's quite frail. He said himself he can't keep on that muscle mass.
No.
He can't play with it.
Hmm.
So you're gonna have to pull him out of that firing line because you put him up against even these young rookies. I mean, they're coming in bigger and stronger than he is.
Yeah. I mean, a lot more solid, even though
Mm.
they've got quite a few inches shorter than him, being the massive player he is. They're a lot sturdier and they're not going to get injured as easily as he has.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
So there's still a lot to be said about the NBA going forward here, but I think that we covered just about everything tonight, Tolly. I would say that's a great late night lounge session we just
Yeah,
had.
the first of many late night lounges. Leave us a comment. We can pick this up, a late night lounger. It's always fun to sit down and have a conversation. I mean, Ben and I have these conversations on the phone, so it'd be interesting if everyone else wants to hear us ramble on in these late night sessions.
Yeah, leave a comment down below if there's anything that you want to hear on the late night sessions, and subscribe, like, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That's been a late night session from us guys. Until next time, we'll see you later.